Does this sound familiar? You're scrolling through social media and suddenly you thought of taking a peek at your ex profile. No harm in it, right? After all, it's been too long since you've muted their posts. But in doing so, you spot your ex with someone new. And suddenly your mind goes into overdrive. What are they doing together? Are they really in love? What's their relationship like? You still miss them so much, but they seem totally fine. Happy even. It's like moving on was no big deal for them. And now, you're stuck wondering how they moved on so fast, what it says about your relationship, and maybe even what it says about you. What's more, the thought of your ex being in love with someone else who's not, you feels almost impossible to handle. Truth is, we've all been there. But have you ever wondered why they seem to move on so quickly? Well, you're about to find out why in this video. Today, we'll be diving into the psychology behind why your ex moves on so quickly. It's a topic that hits close to home for many, and understanding the reasons behind their actions can help bring closure and healing. The fact is that we move on from relationships at different paces. It can take decades, years, months, weeks, even days. But when it happens to our exes, and we think it's happening all too quickly, it doesn't feel fair. Worse, it can make us feel bad about ourselves. We then think we're to blame for the demise of the relationship. That's why they got over us so fast. But is it true, though? Not really. Sometimes, people move on quickly after a breakup, not because they've found a deep connection with someone new, but to make a statement. And it's not just to their ex, but also their friends, their family, and even to themselves. Basically, it's like saying, "See? I've moved on first. I'm doing amazing. Honestly, this might be the best thing that's ever happened to me." They use it as a way of protecting themselves from all the messy emotions involved in the end of a relationship, like insecurities, doubts, grief, and that sense of loss or abandonment. It can also be about regaining some control when everything feels so out of balance after a breakup. Or perhaps they're acting this way because the breakup hit them hard. It might be more of a coping mechanism than a real attempt to move on. Instead of dealing with their emotions and working on building a healthier attachment style, they could just be trying to avoid the pain altogether. Your ex moving on quickly might also have more to do with their attachment style than anything else. For instance, someone with a disorganized attachment style often struggles with their emotions. They bounce between avoiding their feelings and seeking a connection to escape loneliness. In this case, jumping into something new could just be their way of coping, not a sign that the breakup didn't affect them. If they have an anxious attachment style, they might dive into a new relationship as a way to avoid feeling lonely. On the flip side, someone with an avoidant attachment style tends to push their emotions aside altogether. They might look like they're totally fine, but chances are they're just burying their feelings, which could resurface later in other ways, like entering a new relationship as soon as they can. It's possible that your ex broke up with you after going over and ruminating on this decision for quite some time. Perhaps they may have already been grieving the loss of both you and the relationship for years, which means they're likely in a very different emotional place than you are right now. So, if you're feeling blindsided by how quickly your ex seems to have moved on, remember that their actions might not necessarily reflect their immediate feelings. In many cases, your ex may have moved on so quickly as a way to cope with their emotional pain of breaking up with you. This isn't necessarily a healthy or constructive approach, but likely it's a temporary, unhealthy coping mechanism because they'd rather involve someone else and cover up their emotions with a distraction rather than deal with their emotions. Their quick rebound might actually reflect how painful the breakup was for them and how much they miss you. By the way, make sure to subscribe if you've learned something new today. Another reason could be that your ex is struggling with self-esteem. The reality is that breakups can really mess with someone's confidence, especially if they were already feeling unsure about themselves before getting into a relationship with you. In this case, they might be looking for validation or a confidence boost, which is why they entered their new relationship quickly. Basically, they're using it to feel better about themselves after the end of their relationship with you. It's also possible, though unlikely, that your ex has genuinely moved on. Maybe they've met someone new, built a strong connection, and are happy in their relationship. That can be tough to accept. But it still doesn't mean they moved on quickly, because there's something wrong with you. What's more, it's easy to start thinking that with them quickly moving on to someone new, it somehow takes away from what you had together. That maybe your relationship wasn't as deep or meaningful as you thought, or that all the love and effort you put in didn't really matter to them. You might even start wondering what it says about the love they said they had for you. Because if they could move on so fast, does that mean they never really loved you at all? We mentioned this earlier, and we can't stress it enough. If your ex moved on super fast and is already in a new relationship, it probably says more about how they deal with breakups than anything about you. Also, know that it takes time to process the emotions of a breakup. It's completely normal to still feel the effects of a meaningful relationship ending, even weeks or months later. Just because they seem to have moved on quickly doesn't mean they're better at dealing with the breakup. Again, that new relationship may be a way for them to mask what they're really feeling. More importantly, it doesn't mean you're wrong for still feeling it deeply or not being ready to move on yet. We know that seeing your ex with someone new can really stir up some tough feelings. For instance, it might make you question why moving on feels so hard for you. You may even start thinking you're less lovable, or that your ex replaced you so easily because there's something wrong with you. This can even make you feel like you need to jump into a new relationship just to keep up. Our advice? Don't rush into a new relationship just because your ex already did it. It's worth slowing down to make sure you're in a good place with yourself first. Finding peace and stability on your own helps ensure you're not looking for a relationship just to fill a void or out of codependency. That doesn't mean you shouldn't want companionship. Wanting a romantic connection with someone is totally natural. But being comfortable on your own first can do wonders for both your inner happiness and the quality of your future relationships. At the end of the day, relationships should be about building a real connection with someone, not just a way to fill empty spaces in your life. And building a relationship that's secure, lasting, and meaningful takes time and patience. It's important to remember that no one is a perfect partner. Building a successful relationship starts with self-improvement. So, take time to recognize any unhealthy patterns in your behavior when it comes to relationships and make a conscious effort to replace them with healthier ones. By focusing on personal growth, you can bring your best self into future relationships, strengthening them and fostering deeper connections. And if you like this video, then check out these related videos to see more. And make sure to like this video to let the algorithm know you'd like to see more videos like these.